What's going on, everybody? Zach back here with another episode of Clutch Crew Sports, and today we've got a special Halloween episode. I'm really excited for this. Hopefully, everybody has a great Halloween. Eat a lot of candy, and I haven't heard too many killer clown stories going around this year, so that's good. But on my on my intro slide here, I've got a lot of scary pictures I put up. Some zombies, coming from the graves. And then I've got Dave Caldwell, the general manager of the Jaguars, because he scares me a lot. And I've got the team's record up here, 1-6. That's pretty scary. Yeah, so happy Halloween. Now let me introduce you to the rest of the crew.
What's going on, guys? I'm Connor, the co-host with the most, and I decided to go with the Grim Reaper. I've always thought the Grim Reaper was pretty cool. I dressed up as the Grim Reaper one year for Halloween, and I was pretty happy. I found some pretty cool pictures. I got this Steelers picture with the jack-o'-lantern kind of holding the moon and the Steelers logo in the middle, so I thought that was pretty cool. And then the skeleton hockey player with the Hurricanes logo that he's holding there. So, but yeah, I'm excited for Halloween. I know it's my girlfriend's favorite holiday, so gonna have some fun on Halloween, and I'm excited for this episode for sure.
What's going on, y'all? Eric, your ranting co-host here. I'm a pretty big fan of both Batman and the Joker, so I went with a Arkham Asylum theme here with mine. And Reese's are my favorite candy, so I had to, of course, throw Halloween's big time on candy, obviously, so I had to have some Reese's in there. Definitely excited to get into this episode here, and I'm really hoping, for my sake, that I can turn it around on the lockboard this week.
What's up, guys? It's Nate here. For my monster, I chose the creature from the Black Lagoon just because I always thought he was kind of cool looking and a little bit different and spooky there. So excited to have that. And I put a picture of, if you're watching on YouTube, I got a picture of Brian Dawkins and Derrick Henry on my slide just because if I was an NFL player, I would definitely not get a whole lot of sleep the night before playing those guys. I'd be, I have to say, I'd be pretty scared of those two. So,
for sure,
especially if you're Josh Norman.
Oh yeah. I bet he's still having nightmares about that. So, yeah.
Wonder how Andrew Winger feels on this picture that you have here. My God. How's that not a penalty? I swear, man. If a defender did that, there'd be 10 flags.
Oh boy, yeah, he's getting abused.
I know. Okay, guys, so we'll start out always around the shield. Everything, and if you're watching on YouTube, and I recommend YouTube for this one, we got all Halloween themed throughout the slide, so enjoy it if you really like Halloween. But Connor, I'll let you take away what we're going to be doing for the Around the Shield part of this episode.
Yeah, so this week we're doing a bit of a spin on the buy or sell that we did in week 2. So obviously Halloween theme, we're going to go trick or treat, and Zach has written up some pretty spooky, scary descriptions for these different things that we're doing here. So I'm excited to see where everybody stands on them, and I gotta clear my throat here so I can pull out the. I don't know if it's gonna be a spooky voice, but
it's okay.
It's gonna be more like the guy who does the movie trailers, sort of like that. So
yeah, just do whatever.
All right.
I just hope you guys like these topics the way.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting when I was reading them. I thought it was pretty cool. So all right, number 1. After getting some time off and getting some treatment, Sam Darnold no longer has the paranormal visions he once had. This new confidence actually causes the Jets to win a game? Trick or treat.
All right. Okay. Nate, did you move yours?
My slides are acting up here. It should be going over there. Isn't it? Oh. Let me get off my Wi-Fi real quick. I'm doing it on my phone, so I don't have to.
Okay. Well, I'll just start with ours before we get to Nate's. But okay. So for those who don't understand the trick or treat aspect to this, trick means that we don't believe it, and then treat means that it'll happen, like eating the treats. So in this case, the Jets winning a game. I'll start with Eric over here as the lone treat. Why is this a treat for you, Eric?
Yeah, I'm not gonna say this is 100% treat, but and I definitely, if it happens, I don't necessarily think it'll just be because of Sam Darnold. But I mean, the Jets have to win a game at some point, right? I mean, 0-16.
I don't know.
0-16 has not happened very often, and they actually put up a respectable fight, at least defensively, against the Bills yesterday. So that game gave me a little bit of confidence that they could win a game at some point. So I think they have to at one point. I mean, I'm not 100% convinced, but
Yeah.
I feel like they have to win one, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm on the trick side of this one. Their schedule is just incredibly difficult. And the team is so bad too. It just seems like they're not going to win any games, in my opinion. But Connor, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, it is really hard to pick a team to go 0-16 because, I mean, I don't really remember what the 08 Lions season was like, if they had any like close games where they almost won. But like I know obviously with the Browns in 2017, they had that game against the end of the year that they should have won against the Steelers, but on that like fourth down, the Browns receiver dropped the pass when he was wide open. So that was a close one. And then I remember, I think it was like 2013 or 2014, maybe 2012, when the Dolphins were like 0-14 going into Week 16, but then they managed to pull out a victory. So it is really hard for. It's almost like you have to try to go 0-16 sometimes. But yeah, I agree with Zach that like I think they only have like one or two more winnable games on their schedule, which one of those is against the Dolphins. And I mean, if they play anything like they did against the Dolphins last time, then that's not going to happen. So I think I was like looking at their schedule the other day. I mean, I said like the only winnable game that they probably have left besides that is like maybe their game at home against the Patriots. Like if the Patriots keep it up, but I don't think they'll keep it up. So 0-16.
Colin. Yeah, Nate, what did we miss picking the Jets to go 0-16? Anything?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I think. Yeah, you basically got on. They're just not very good.
Yeah, really. All right, let's go with the next one.
All right, number 2. The clowns are gone. The bells have rung for the last time. Frankenstein Rudolph is contained with a fierce defense eating alive quarterbacks and an offense scary as Ben Roethlisberger on a motorcycle. Are the Steelers Super Bowl favorites? Trick or treat.
Okay, so we've all moved our positions around a little bit. Eric and I are leaning on the trick side of that question that Connor asked, and Connor and Nate are on the treat side. So let's start with why that you guys think that they are Super Bowl favorites. Let's start with that, Connor, obviously on this one.
Well, I'm definitely not gonna say that they're like the outright favorites right now, because obviously there's still the Ravens and the Chiefs in the AFC, which I think the Chiefs have really shown that they're vulnerable. Like given they had that game against the Chargers and they had that game against against not the Ravens, the Raiders. So the Chiefs are definitely vulnerable, and so I'm not quite as worried about them as I was before. It's more so I want to see this week how the Steelers do against the Ravens. If the Steelers beat the Ravens, then my picture would probably go to the end of the spectrum, because I definitely think that the Steelers can contend with any NFC team. The only one that really worries me right now is maybe like either Seattle or Tampa Bay would be the ones that worry me. So, but I say they're at least AFC title game favorites, but not yet Super Bowl favorites right now.
All right, Nate, you were also with Connor on that one, a little bit less on the treat side, but what else scares you about the Steelers?
Yeah, I put it in the middle because I don't think they're, like Connor said, I don't think they're favorites for the Super Bowl, but I definitely think, as of right now, they look like the best team in the AFC the way they beat the Titans this week. And I think, like what Connor said, if they beat the Ravens, this coming Sunday, it'll definitely go a long way towards making them favorites. I think they can beat any team in the NFL. I just don't know, if they made it to the Super Bowl. If I think Tampa and Seattle could definitely um, give them a push there. So it'll definitely be interesting to see. But I think they got a good shot at it.
Okay. Eric, you and I were on the trick side, so I'll let you say what team you think is more of a favorite than the Steelers right now, and we'll see if we agree.
I think I know what Zach's is before he says anything, but Eric.
Yeah, I didn't fully go to the trick side here. I obviously think they have a chance. I mean, they're one of the 2 undefeated teams, but
actually they're the only undefeated team left.
Oh, that's right. The Seahawks lost. But I guess I was if we had asked me this question like at halftime of the game, the game yesterday against the Titans, I would have probably been more on the treat side. It worried me a little bit the way the Titans came back in the second half of that game, and Roethlisberger started struggling, and he does that sometimes where he has these games where he struggles in certain situations, and I don't know if they're going to be able to put it together for a playoff run. Connor said he's not worried about the Chiefs. I would still be pretty worried about them, but yeah, I've got the Chiefs and the Seahawks as the 2 favorites right now. So but Pittsburgh's definitely moved up for me, but I just don't quite have them there yet.
Okay, let's see real quick if Connor's guess is right. Connor, what was your guess for me gonna be?
The Bucks.
Yeah, you're right there. I've got yeah, it's tough. I've got the Steelers like neck and neck with the Chiefs between 2 and 3, but the way the Bucks have been playing recently, I've got the Bucks in first for the Super Bowl odds. But let's see what the next one is. These are starting to get spooky.
Ooh.
Well, there's no Jaguars on here, so it can't be that spooky.
That's true. That would scare everybody. I'd have to put a disclaimer.
I was like, guys, I can't talk about the Jaguars again. I just can't.
All right. In a northern Viking town, a Loch Ness monster has returned to the waters and started murdering sailors. Rumors are spreading that this terror will go away for them if they just sacrifice Kirk Cousins. Should the Vikings bench Kirk Cousins? Trick or treat?
Ooh.
I'm trying to get myself right in the middle.
Okay, yeah. All right, so basically how we have it right now, Connor, like he said, is dead in the middle of this. Eric is on the treat side, wanting them to bench Kirk Cousins, and then me and Nate are on the trick side for not benching. And my thing for not benching is the sailors, hopefully they're okay in that northern Viking town, but I just don't see a replacement for Kirk Cousins. Like, I know quarterbacks come from nowhere sometimes, but to me, I just don't think they have a viable second string quarterback on their team to be worthy. And Kirk Cousins got that fully guaranteed contract, so that makes it even tougher to really move on from him. And if you bench him, you basically have to move on from him, in my opinion. So that's why I'm on the trick side. Let me hear from Connor in the middle on this one. Why were you torn about this, Connor?
Yeah, for me, it's basically that, I definitely think it's something they should do, but like you said, there's no, viable option. That's, their backup quarterback is Sean Mannion. I just looked that up. So, I mean, it's more so, I think, why I'm in the middle is because I think they should do it. And I think what they should do is maybe see if they can find, I don't know if there's any free agent quarterbacks out there, or make a trade for a just a 7th or 6th round pick for a different quarterback.
Josh Rosen.
Maybe, I don't know. But I mean, because the offensive pieces are there for the Vikings. They still have Dalvin Cook. They have Adam Thielen. The offensive pieces are there. It just seems like Kirk Cousins has been the one costing them these games with all the interceptions he's throwing. So, yeah, until they get another quarterback, I'm going to stay in the middle, but it's definitely a good idea on their part, in my opinion, because he's just he has not been worth the money that they gave him.
Yeah. Eric, you're in full support of this. You must really believe those rumors of
a sacrifice.
I'm obviously very concerned for the sailors. And the reason why I put it is because when the Vikings traded Yannick Ngakoue the other day, that just signaled to me that they're throwing the season and, they're throwing in the towel on the season, because you don't just give away a second round pick for a guy like that and then not even halfway through your first season when you're 1-5, like, get rid of him. You know what I mean? Like, the Vikings have not had a good year this year. Kirk Cousins has been terrible. I mean, I do have to agree, it's not like they have a great option behind him or anything, but it seems to me like the Vikings are done with this year anyway. So why not see if Sean Mannion can do anything, or, like Connor said, see if you can bring in somebody to, fill out the roster or something, because I think they move on from Kirk Cousins after the end of this year anyway. So I don't see what the point in just keep throwing him out there is when he can barely hit a little board when he was doing his gender reveal thing. I mean, that's not good news for the Sailors. So yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't think he's very good, and they need to move on from him. Even if they don't bench him this season, like by next season, he needs to be gone, because I think he kind of single-handedly is holding the team back.
Yeah, definitely. All right, these are getting spookier and spookier. Let's hear the next one.
All right. Well, no lives are at stake here this time, so
that's good. Oh.
A little less spooky one this time.
A surprising group of young Panthers have banded together and are starting to prey on the birds of the league. Do these young cats make the playoffs? Trick or treat?
Okay. I think I've seen everybody's move now. Man, I've been tricking all night. Eric is on my side as well, and then Nate and Connor are on the treat side with this. And for me, if you'd asked this a couple weeks ago, I would definitely be on the treat side. This young group of Panthers, they're starting to scare some people, especially those bird teams. I looked on the schedule; they've beaten some bird teams.
Man,
so watch out.
Natural prey right there.
Yeah, of course. Wish some other cats could do that, but yeah, no.
Well, yeah, and just the Jaguars. We don't need any Bengals doing that.
But to me, this team's impressed me, but losing the last 2 weeks like they've been close, but the schedule does get a little bit more difficult, and I don't think they end up making the playoffs, even with that extra spot. Eric, you're also in agreement with me here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in pretty much the exact same boat here. I mean, I do give the Panthers a lot of credit. They're playing a lot better than I think most people thought they would. And, we kind of thought they were going to be in a similar position that the Jaguars are in. But while they're doing better than that, I don't quite think they're good enough just yet to make a playoff run. We have a lot of Panthers fans on this podcast, so if they do, I'll be happy for them.
Yeah,
they still can't win a Super Bowl before my Jaguars do, but they can make the playoffs. They can make the playoffs. That's cool, but I just don't think it's going to happen quite yet. But if I'm a Panthers fan, though, I would be very excited about the direction the team is heading.
Yeah. So yeah, we got a lot of Panthers fans. So how about Nate and Connor gas them up real quick? Nate, you can start first.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully be encouraging to the Panthers fans. I think I'm in the middle. I'm not saying like I definitely think they're gonna, win the NFC South, make the playoffs, but I think with the extra playoff spot this year, I think they've got a decent chance. Their schedule is definitely hard going forward, but they've got like the Vikings, they've got the football team, they've got the Broncos, they've got the Lions, so it's like there's definitely like they might drop the game to the Bucks and the Packers, but I think they've got the schedule is manageable enough for them to control their own destiny and make it in. So I'm not going to count them out at all at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that extra playoff spot is the main reason why I'm like all the way on the treat side, is because for me, just like watching them over the past few weeks, I mean, like Zach and Eric have said, they've been a lot better than we thought they would. And yeah, I mean, they were close to beating the Bears and close to beating the Saints, but one thing that they haven't been without this whole time for a long time is Christian McCaffrey. And once he comes back, their offense is going to be lethal. I mean, Mike Davis has been good, but he's no Christian McCaffrey. So I think And also, like Nate was saying, looking at their schedule, like they definitely have probably 3 games on here that I would call like automatic losses. Like they're playing the Chiefs, they're playing the Buccaneers. I mean, unless they are at home against the Buccaneers, so who knows if they could pull off something. And then they're playing the Packers on the road, so those are probably all losses. But like Nate said, they're playing the Vikings and the Broncos and the football team, and they have a game against the Lions, and they're playing the Falcons this week. So, and I think they can definitely.
That's a bird.
Yep. They're preying on those birds, and they're about to be preying on some horses and other cats too. But yeah, no, and then also they close the season at home against the Saints, which I mean, if they can come within 3 points of beating the Saints on the road, then I think they definitely have a chance at home. So, and like Nate said, especially with that extra playoff spot, I think it's a really good chance that they make the playoffs.
Okay, let's hear the next one.
All right. After 4 weeks, it looked like the Wild Buffalo of New York were starting to make a comeback. But after being slaughtered for sport by Chiefs and Titans and almost being bombed by Jets, these Bison are losing confidence that they can repopulate the East. Are the Bills actually going to miss the playoffs? Trick or treat.
Okay. All right. So this is one where we all are pretty much all in agreement. Anyone want to speak for the group on why we don't believe this and why we're tricking?
I'll just say like my main reason is the AFC East. Like the Jets are garbage. The Patriots have not been looking good at all. Like if they keep this up, then the Patriots are headed for like their first losing season in a long time. And then I don't know if the Dolphins are good enough to beat like some of the better teams in the AFC. Like they've had some good performances, but 2 of their wins came against the Jaguars and the Jets. So like, I just think the Bills aren't going to be bad enough to lose the AFC East to these 3 teams.
Yep. All right. So I think we all agree with that. Let's Hopefully those that bison population can repopulate on the East.
I know there's some magnificent creatures, dude. Like I've seen a lot of them, out west sometimes. But
Josh Allen came from Wyoming.
Yeah,
so
you're
that's
right.
That's a good sign. That's a good sign.
All right. Oh, Kayla, my girlfriend's not going to like this one if she listens to this podcast. But the witches up in New England are finally starting to lose some of their powers and are slowly turning human. Will this be the end of their leader, Witch Belichick? Trick or treat? Yeah. Kind of put mine where Zach's is.
Trying to see the face.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, He doesn't have a face, so
that's true. All right, everybody make their moves.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is interesting. We're Connor and I are more on the middle on this, and then Eric and Nate are on the fool trick side. That Witch Belichick though, Nate knows a lot about him. So Nate, you're not buying this here. How come?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely having a bad start to the season. If they can't get Cam going again like the way he looked the first couple of games, definitely not going to end well for them. But I don't think this is the end for Belichick. I mean, I think he knew that Brady was going to leave. I think even last season, so I don't think he would have stuck around, knowing they were going into a semi rebuild and not be prepared for it. So I think. Whatever happens this season, I think he's still going to stay around, and we'll see what happens, the rest of the games in next year. But definitely don't think it's the end for for Witch Belichick. Got a little bit of tricks.
Nice.
Yeah. Eric, you're also in the agreement with Nate. How many more years do you think Witch Belichick has left?
I don't know, man. I think what's going to really determine what he does is probably after the next offseason, depending on what kind of talent they have on the team. And if he, feels like he can win with that team, then he'll stick around and keep going. And then, maybe if not, then maybe that's when he calls it quits. But I don't know. I guess obviously I don't follow the Patriots as closely as Nate does. Nate might be able to answer that one a little better than me, but I'm sure he'll probably go for a few more years. I don't think he's going to retire after this year.
Yeah, I picked more in the middle here because I just think with him the thing is he can fill the rest of the team, but it's the quarterback that like we never, because he's had Brady basically his whole coaching career in New England. So uh and they don't have an apparent answer to the future at that position because Stidham hasn't shown that okay, Stidham's the guy. Cam definitely has started to show that okay, he's not the guy. So we'll see what happens in the draft. I definitely think he comes back next year. That's why I'm not on the treat side, but I do think his years are numbered and he could retire in a couple of years. I could see that happening if they don't get the quarterback fixed. Connor, you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing really is that more so that in Witch's mind that he doesn't have anything left to prove. Like, it's not like he needs to stick around to cement his legacy. Like, oh, I need like one more Super Bowl or something like that to cement my legacy. Like his legacy is already cemented as the greatest coach in the history of the league. So, I think it's more so like like you said, if he doesn't have a competitive team and they can't fix it next season, then like there's no incentive for him to stick around because I mean, like I said, he doesn't have anything to prove, and if they're not going to be winning, then like why not just pass the torch on and let the future happen in New England?
Yeah, and I think Witch McDaniels might be waiting for that too. So.
Yeah, I know he really he cast a spell on the Colts. He thought that they were gonna.
Oh yeah.
He cast a illusion spell on the Colts, saying he was gonna go there, but then was like, nope.
All right, let's hear the next one.
There's finally hope for sports in the city of Cleveland, and it looks like Mayfield can lead the Browns to the playoffs for the first time since Witch Belichick. However, Charlie Brown is canceled this year, and Odell Beckham is gone for the year. Are these signs they missed the playoffs? Trick or treat?
Ooh, okay. So Connor and I are on the full trick end of the spectrum. Eric's about dead in the middle, and then Nate is actually on the treat side. I know Charlie Brown's canceled this year, but the Browns are still making the playoffs, guys. There's just too much talent on the offense. They have a winning record. And the AFC with the extra playoff spot, I think, is pretty easy for them to make it. So I'm not really worried at all. Losing Odell Beckham's a big deal, but it's not like they don't have other offensive threats on their team. And it just seems to be something different this year about the Browns. Connor, you're in agreement with me on that?
Yeah, I think it's more so for me the fact that a combination of they are already 5-2, so like especially with that extra playoff spot, they would really have to collapse for something to go wrong. And I think the other thing for me is the fact that Odell Beckham wasn't really doing that well anyway this season. Like, I'm sure he was probably drawing like coverages and stuff, and that's why he wasn't getting as many catches, but he definitely wasn't, the star of the team or like the heart of their offense. And so I don't know if losing, like they still have Jarvis Landry, they're going to be getting Nick Chubb back, and some of those, other receivers really started to step up there at the end of that game against the Bengals. Like Peoples-Jones made a fantastic catch for the game-winning touchdown. So I think the Browns are okay. I mean, and like I said, they're already 5-2, so they would need a major collapse to miss the playoffs this season.
Yeah, so Connor and I feel pretty secure about the Browns making the playoffs, but Eric is right in the middle on this. Did the Odell Beckham injury cause you to be in the middle for this, Eric, or is it Charlie Brown being canceled?
Charlie Brown. It's definitely concerning. I mean, I haven't seen too much of Browns football this year, but I have to feel like this, with his name and with his skill set, that he had to be drawing a lot of coverage away, which opened up other targets. Now, I know like the guys that came in did pretty good last week. There were guys getting touchdowns that I didn't even know who they were really, but that was against the Bengals, so which a lot of people score a lot of points on them. So I'm going to have to – the reason why I'm in the middle is because I'm going to have to see – I really want to see how they do going forward over there next couple of games, I am definitely concerned for them, but especially, I mean, there is the extra playoff spot, but like their division's doing really well. Obviously, the Steelers and Ravens could be both be ahead of them, and then obviously there's going to be the other division winners, and then the Raiders, while they got blown out by the Bucks, have been kind of good. Like there are now a lot of the rest of the AFC isn't that good though, but there are a lot of other possibilities that could prevent them from getting in. But right now, I've got them being somewhere between that like 5 to 7 spot, so I think they'll be okay. But I am a little worried, so that's why I'm in the middle.
Yeah, Nate, you're pretty well on the treat side, I guess. Do you watch Charlie Brown like every other week or something? Is this what's making you panic?
The Great Pumpkin,
Yeah, I mean,
Charlie Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I just we talked about it going into the season in our preview episode. I just still have a hard time
Yeah.
believing in the Browns. I know their schedule is not that hard, but when they have played good teams in both the Ravens and the Steelers, they lost both games almost identically. It was 38-6 versus the Ravens and 38-7 versus the Browns, and they almost gave up, 2 games to the Bengals, almost gave up a game to the Cowboys. It's like I don't know. I just think they started out very well on offense, but I'm interested to see how they do without Odell, and I'm interested to see how many more times they can kind of get by teams the rest of the way. I think it'll be tough to get by,
Yeah.
the NFC North teams, and then, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But I definitely, I'm not saying they for sure won't, but I think a collapse is definitely not out of the picture. I won't be surprised.
Yeah. All right, so we've got one more. This is one of my favorite ones I came up with. So,
all right. A murderous, evil clown named Antonio Brown has joined the Buccaneers. Can Captain Brady keep him in line, or will he have to walk the plank? Trick or treat.
okay. So is AB gonna walk the plank? That's the big question here.
Oh.
Wait, hold up. Yeah, the way that one was worded was kind of weird. I'm like,
I think
like, if he's going to be clean, is that treat or is that trick?
If he's gonna be clean, I'm gonna put it on over here.
If he's gonna be clean, well, okay. So I've got it worded. Can he keep him in line? Okay, so I guess that means that is the treat. So keeping him in line is the treat. Trick is walking the plank.
Moving it back.
Okay. All right. So I'm in the middle on this one. A lot of people think he's going to walk the plank, but I'm in the middle because you don't know with Antonio Brown. You really don't. But to me, it seems like I think there's a better chance now that he's going to be kept in line because he's going to be going to a very good team, and because I think Tom Brady is going to have an influence on him. Like last year, there was so much stuff when he was coming out of Oakland that just carried over, really, basically. And a lot of his actions in Oakland caused him to get cut from the Patriots, and it was really just a bad time for him. But it seems like now, years passed, I'm gonna be willing to give him another chance with the Bucks. That's why I'm not like saying, "Oh, now the Bucks are screwed," but definitely it's Antonio Brown, so I'm not like gonna say it's not gonna happen. So we'll see what happens with him, but I'm really in the middle on this one. Let's hear from Nate next about this.
Yeah, kind of like what you're saying. I mean, the dude's forced his way out of the last 3 teams he's been on by being either a locker room cancer or committing crimes. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not super confident that he's gonna work out in Tampa Bay. I mean, he might not get kicked off the team or released or whatever, but from his comments, it seems like Bruce Arians isn't gonna have a whole lot of patience for him. I think this was mostly done on account of Tom Brady wanting it. So I mean, I think he's gonna have a short leash, and I'm not expecting too much out of him down there.
Okay.
Yeah, for me, it was kind of shocking that they even felt the need to bring him in. I mean, you've already got, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and you've got Gronk, and they've already got so many weapons down there. I don't really know why they felt like they needed to bring him in, because to me it's a big risk. As Nate said, he's been known to be a locker room cancer, and when my team's flying high, I've got a lot of weapons. I don't really understand why they made this move, to be honest. I don't think it's a good move. I don't necessarily think it's going to like hurt them going forward or anything, but I don't know. It just seems like a risk that isn't worth taking. The risk is not worth the reward, in my opinion.
Yeah, and let's hear from Connor now to wrap this up.
It's definitely, to me, not a risk worth taking, because like Eric said, they've already got all the weapons. And I mean, my main thing is that if John Gruden and Rich Belichick couldn't straighten Antonio Brown out, then Bruce Arians is definitely not going to straighten Antonio Brown out. So I just don't see him, and also, if he was complaining about one wide receiver taking targets from him, now he's got two all-pro wide receivers that are going to be taking targets from him. So, not looking good.
It's definitely gonna be interesting to see how that happens. I think probably because what Eric said, I feel like this was a team decision more than anything. I think like the team was like, if the team really didn't want Antonio Brown to be there, like Earl Thomas, he wouldn't be there. So I think the team is willing to give him a chance, but we'll see how it goes. It's going to be interesting for sure. Now let's take a look here. We have the one game from this past week that we highlighted and want to talk about. Now, I'm not going to really be talking about the game. I'm just going to have a rant for the end, so I'll save my comments for last. We'll start with Nate on this one. Seahawks and Cardinals is our game of the week. We all got it wrong picking Seattle. I contemplated taking Arizona. I thought it'd be close, but Nate, what were your thoughts about this upset win for the Cardinals? Now, a big division win for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like you said, big win for the Cardinals. I mean, I think the Seahawks are still obviously in the driver's seat for the NFC, but I think concerns about their defense in this game definitely showed that. I mean, the Cardinals have a good offense for sure. They got a great quarterback and receivers and all that, but 37 points there, and that makes the especially in light of what the Pats did, the way they look this week, and they dropped like 30 some points on them in week 2. So I mean, I think it's definitely a big statement that the Seahawks definitely have some weaknesses.
Okay, yeah. Let's hear now from Connor about, is this like where do you feel about Seattle and where do you feel about Arizona after this?
I mean, out of everybody on the podcast, I was the first one to embrace Arizona as a playoff team, and I mean, I think I'm sticking with that, because I kind of like you, I was contemplating taking Arizona, so like this loss wasn't entirely surprising to me. It wasn't one of those things like, whoa, like Arizona's beating Seattle, what? But I mean, like I said, I think they're a playoff team for sure. And yeah, very concerning about Seattle's defense, because it's one of those things that, it's never when you're losing a game when you're putting up 34 points. Like, you would think that would be enough to win you a game most of the time. But, I mean, they're kind of showing signs of being the Cowboys defense in a way. But I mean, I will cut them some slack for this game, because Arizona does have a really good offense. Like, Kyler Murray's really stepped up in his second season, and I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is still like probably a top 3 wide receiver in the league. So I don't blame them too much for giving him up to Arizona, but definitely if we start seeing them like giving up points like this to like San Francisco and I don't know who else they play, but if they were playing someone like Detroit or like Minnesota and they were giving up points like this, then yeah, I'd be more concerned. So, and I guess one last note about Cliff Kingsbury is that I think the NFL needs to I'm surprised I haven't heard anything about the NFL like fining him or suspending him yet, because I saw probably a good 5 or 10 minutes combined of him not wearing his mask on the sideline. So I think the NFL needs to take a look at that.
Yeah, write him a letter, Connor. All right, Eric. Before we get to my rant, what were your thoughts for both teams on this?
Yeah, I mean, same as the other guys. Definitely some concerns for Seattle's defense, and I also had a little bit of a concern for Russell Wilson in this game too, because of the 3 interceptions. And if I had to hear the NBC commentators one more time, just like goozing themselves over DK Metcalf running so fast to make that tackle. Like, that was a great play and everything to stop that. But my God, dude, like, they replayed that 100 times and just, DK Metcalf tackle, DK Metcalf fast. So, okay, who cares? But that was one play. That's great, but it's oversaturation of that was really killing me. But it was concerning for me to see Russell Wilson throw 3 interceptions like that, and a couple of them were just really bad decisions. But he's been having a fantastic year, though, so I'm not worried about him in the long run. Their defense is definitely concerning, though, going forward. But they've had some okay games, I guess. Like, they're definitely not Cowboys defense bad, but they're definitely showing that they're not good right now. So they are going to need to step it up. I give the Cardinals a lot of credit for fighting back because they were down by 10 with just a little over 2 minutes left and came back to force overtime. So kudos to them. I'm cool with the Cardinals, but I'm definitely curious as to what Zach's about to rant about here. So I'm going to let Zach take it away now.
Yeah. So I've ranted about situations like this before in the podcast. We all have our things that tick us off.
Like the Jaguars ticking off Eric.
Yeah, Jaguars and ticking off Eric. Eric's also he's like a GM basically. He doesn't like bad trades. He'll call out bad trades. Connor, you're real critical of referees. You always say like, they missed a call here, they missed a call there. Connor definitely pays attention to the refs. Nate, I'm not sure, but I feel like you've got some stuff that you're also critical about when it comes to football. But for me, it's clock management, and this is one of the biggest responsibilities of the head coach is to make sure, okay, the time is this, the down and distance is this, the scoreboard is this. What do I do in these situations? And it just baffles me week after week. You see this all the time, just mess ups by these coaches, either taking timeouts too early, not using their timeouts, play calls, decision making to go for it or not go for it, and field goals and stuff. It's just every time it's just there's something here, something there, just pisses me off. But what happened in this game was just so egregious that I had to just pick this as the game of the week and rant about it. And for people who didn't watch, it was in overtime. There was about 4.5 minutes left, and Arizona had the ball. They were starting to get in the field goal range. And then on like a 2nd and 15 with 4 minutes left, they decide to kick a field goal. And there's so many reasons why this is bad. Number one, the time left on the clock. Okay, there's like 3 minutes left in the game. At the very least, run plays where you just kneel down to make Seattle use their timeouts so that in case you miss the field goal. Now, Seattle ended up screwing themselves over with the interception, but so it didn't cost them in this game. But the fact that Arizona left Seattle with time on the clock and didn't make them use their timeouts just in case they missed the field goal is just a bad decision there. You make them use their timeouts so that way, okay, if we miss it, hopefully it's more likely to go to a tie because Seattle's going to have less time. So not draining the clock there was just a bad decision on their end. Just poor coaching. That's just like, let's just win right now. Like, you got to think about the consequences when it comes to field goals. And then second of all, kicking the field goal on, was it 2nd down? Like, my God, dude, they had 2 more plays where they could have ran to get possible yards. And it's not like this field goal was a chip shot. It ended up being a 45-yarder, I think. And they actually had to call a timeout before the field goal because they almost got a delay of game. If they had gotten a delay of game, I think my head would have exploded. Like, that's how egregious this whole sequence was. Just terrible. And here's the thing about this too is I remember stuff like this. So it says Arizona wins 37-34. You think, oh, good job, Arizona. No, in my power rankings, I'm not saying good job, Arizona. I'm saying Arizona should have lost this game with the way that they managed the clock at the end. So to me, that sets up a situation down the line where I think, okay, Arizona's probably going to mess this up. So I just don't have faith in Arizona in these pressure situations because they absolutely deserve to lose this game. Heck, if that guy doesn't have the offensive block in the back or holding there on offense, Seattle wins the game. So Arizona wins, but they got very lucky to win this, and they really should have lost it with the way they managed the situation. Just rookie mistakes, and I don't know what their reasoning was. I don't know what it was, but whatever excuse he made up is going to be a bad excuse because that was poor and pathetic.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what was crazy too was when they would have had a 36-yard field goal, but then I guess they wanted to get the ball on the left hash mark for the kicker, but the play they did to move the ball over to the left hash mark, they lost 5 yards on.
Yeah, that was. I don't know.
I think that was more of a busted play, honestly.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
and I think I remember I was listening to the commentators and they said something like basically. Like they ran that, like Kyler Murray was like, I think he was supposed to hand it off, but like the running back didn't get the memo, so Murray just got tackled for like a 5-yard loss, and then like apparently, according to the commentators, and maybe like going through Cliff Kingsbury's head, he's thinking, man, like I don't need to lose more yards and make this a longer field goal, so let's go ahead and kick it now. It's like, what kind of a thought process is that? Like, if you like, I would rather lose yards in that situation, like trying to get get it further and like run the clock down than like. On second down, like Zach said, kick a 41-yard field goal. And like Zach said, it wasn't like it was a 24-yarder that, like, if he misses this guy's going to be out of a job. Like, it's not an easy field goal. So
no, and then
yeah, go ahead.
And then also too, the way they managed it at the end, like they almost got a delayed game because they didn't even know what they were doing. Like.
They made it, but then they had to call that timeout. So like it's like we're going back to the whole Jason Garrett icing Dan Bailey in that one game.
I know
like,
that wasn't like a
oddly enough the Cardinals were involved in that game too.
Okay, what were you about to say there, Eric?
I was just going to say before we go to the next segment. I mean, I know Zach in the past has endorsed teams to hire Connor to be like Giannis's agent and stuff like that. Well, if there's any NFL executives listening to this, hire Zach Conger to be your time management expert. He will meet and consult with your coaches. He will have you be prepared for what to do in any given situation. Hire this man already.
Thank you, Eric.
Have y'all learned nothing from his time management skills?
Yeah, I think, especially looking at you, Vic Fangio.
I was about to say. I don't even need to send an application to Denver. They should just hire me on the spot.
Yeah. The resume's all right here.
Yeah. Thanks for that compliment there, Eric. Now I feel a little bit worse for what I did to you coming up, but
you can take it back.
Yeah. All right. So getting to the lock board now. New background on the YouTube for this, but before we get to the results, I had to make this meme, and it's really a combination of the last couple weeks for Eric's sake. But I'm gonna post this on Twitter actually too. So not watching on YouTube to see it.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I know, Eric. Damn, dude, I have to post it on Twitter though for everybody to see. But for people who don't know, this is the 3 dragons meme with Nate and Connor looking as like the scary tough dragons. Then we got Eric like with his tongue sticking out and his eyes going crisscross. Like I had to make this just because of Eric's lockboard performance. Eric, I know you didn't take too kindly when you first saw this.
No, I did not. But
we've had some serious shots fired over the past 2 episodes when it comes to the lockboard. Like, man,
I will have to admit that obviously I'm not doing too good on the logboard right now, but if we want to fire some shots, I know we don't talk about either of these on the podcast, but in the NFL weekly picks, I am ahead of Zach by 15 games. And in our Clutch Crew Sports Fantasy Football League, Zach and Connor's teams were so bad that they just traded for players from their favorite teams so that they could have fantasy Jaguars and Steelers teams because they know they're not making the playoffs.
Well, because you also have to realize that this is a league where half the league is already given up. So if you don't make the playoffs at this point, that'd be pretty sad because like 6 of the 14 teams aren't even playing. So,
well, that kind of, I guess, That kind of hurts y'all even more though, because you gave up when other people already gave up. So
Yeah.
That's true.
meanwhile, Nate
That's
and I
okay. That's okay. In the Conger Family Fantasy League, which is the one that really matters, I'm undefeated, and Eric just took a big L this week. So
Well, yeah, that's the thing. But people, this is Clutch Crew Sports. So.
Damn, God.
Connor said our league doesn't matter, guys.
The shots have been fired tonight. I made.
Look, I mean, you have to admit, I had to when I saw this slide and I knew this was going to be in the episode, I had to come up with a defense.
I know.
Okay? I'm not just going to take it,
Eric's not going to lay over and take it.
I'm not just going to roll over and die. Like I had to do something.
Hey, the best thing for you to do, Eric, is prove me wrong here and have a perfect lock board. So you have that opportunity. You're picking.
Yeah, because actually coming back to the meme, it was about the lock board originally. It wasn't about the other stuff.
But here's the results from the lock board. Nate, congrats to you for picking the score of the Steelers and Titans right. That was pretty crazy. That helped you become a dragon this week.
Yep.
Otherwise, Zach's name would have been on that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But Connor had the best week of everybody, getting 8 points total with his picks. So Connor, go over the points that got you 8 points, and then we'll get going.
Yeah, obviously I underestimated the Titans when it came to the Steelers game, because I got the Steelers score almost right, but I was off by 10 on the Titans. So, and then obviously that Raiders-Buccaneers game didn't work out for me. The Raiders were in it at the beginning, like kind of around halftime, but after halftime, the Buccaneers ran away. But definitely the San Francisco over New England, that was definitely my most confident pick. And I mean, I'm not going to say that I mean, I knew San Francisco in my head. I thought they were going to win, but I had no clue they were going to blow out New England like they did, especially at Gillette Stadium. Like, ouch, 33-6. I don't think the Gillette faithful have seen a game like that in probably the last 20 years. So, not good. And then I also have to give a big thank you to Zach for sniping that Pittsburgh over Notre Dame game from me, because that turned out to be an awful pick. So it lended me to getting 5 points from Wake Forest over Virginia Tech. I didn't really pick that for any reason more than I just like had a feeling about it and I wanted a 5-pointer. I was like, this seems like the most likely 5-pointer left, because like I know, which it turned out to be, because we all saw how Tennessee and Alabama went. Yeah. And I don't remember what the other one was, but I don't think that one worked out either. So, I'm pretty happy. And I'm happy that, I'm back in the lead. I mean, I know we had the Dragons for like Eric not doing good, but, I would say I'd be very disappointed in myself if I wasn't at least first or second in something that was basically created like from something that I do. So that would be pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. So looking at the total standings now, like Connor alluded to, Connor's now in first place. We have another new first place person. It's been flip-flopping.
How many times we've swapped the lead? At least like 3 or 4 times at this point.
Yeah, we've been flip-flopping a lot. So I'm in second now. I'm down by 3 points with 35. Eric's in third with 23, and Nate is in last, 20 points behind first place. But you did gain ground, Nate, this week, so you're catching the Eric in third. So we have a new lockboard week. Eric, with all the jokes that have been made about you, man, you get to rewrite history here at this first pick. Nobody to blame but yourself on this one if you get it wrong.
Yeah, you're right on that. You're right on that. Yeah, okay. So when I looked at the block board this week, I didn't see too many 5-pointers that stuck out to me where I felt really confident in. So I'm going to start with a 3-point game, and I'm going to go to the college side and take Kansas State to beat West Virginia.
You sure you don't want to take that Jets over KC, like 20-point spread?
Well, I thought about picking that one if we could come up with a condition that I get 20 points if I get it. Yeah, no, I'm avoiding that game like the plague, so.
All right. Zach.
This Connor said that other week, like picking in the top 2, it wasn't normal for him. It's not normal for me either.
Yeah, like, again, like you said, yeah, not much to blame on yourself. At least when you're picking last, you can blame snipes on other people. Like,
I gotta get points in this first round here, so I'm gonna go Atlanta over Carolina on a Thursday night.
Seems like a pretty good
Yep.
a pick'em game, really.
Yeah, basically. So I know those young cats like the birds, but hopefully that changes. Sorry, all the Panthers fans now that hate me. Okay, Nate, you're picking third here. Hopefully we haven't stolen all your picks yet, but Nate
seems to be having issues.
Oh, there you go. Can you guys hear me?
Okay,
yes,
yeah.
sir.
Okay.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, hopefully this one is an AS night for somebody, but I'm gonna go Pittsburgh over Baltimore here. I'm surprised
I was
to see
thinking about
they
that
were...
one. Not gonna lie, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, I figured Connor would be eyeballing that.
That wasn't my first pick though, so
Okay.
yeah, not quite a snipe. I was hoping to get that in later rounds, but I think for this one, this is one I was looking at the beginning that I wanted to get, because I think it's fairly likely, especially with the injury to Odell Beckham Jr. I'm going to take the Raiders to beat the Browns.
Yep.
Oh,
all right, so it looks like 3-pointers really stealing the show in round one. Back over to Eric now to start the second round.
Yeah, I was definitely looking at that Raiders over Browns game. I didn't want to pick it first, but I thought I could get it in the second round, but that didn't happen. Okay, I'm going to go to the NFL this time, and I'm taking another 3-pointer here, and I'm going to take the Lions to beat the Colts.
Dang it.
Oh, ouch.
That was like an obvious snipe.
Yeah, it was. Dang. Eric took that away from me. Now I got to reassess what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'll say while you're thinking, I guess I feel like the Lions have a good chance. The Jaguars aren't good, but they blew us out, and they had that hard-fought comeback win over Atlanta. And I just don't trust Phillip Rivers, so I'm picking the Lions here.
Yeah.
Well, the Lions are at home too, so
I don't care about that. That with like 18 people in the crowd,
you still got to travel, though. I think that's my thing when it comes to the home and away games. Like, the crowd's obviously not a factor, but you do still have to travel.
Yeah, I got to go through airports and all that stuff. All right, so I'm gonna go to college now. Already in college, but I'm going to another college, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna pick Texas to beat Oklahoma State.
Ooh.
Would be an upset for sure. 3-point play there, but I just think Oklahoma State really hasn't played anybody yet, and I think Texas gets a surprise win here. They really desperately need it. So,
Nate, pick number 2.
Oh boy, yeah. I've been doing some thinking about this one. There's a few spots that I kind of want to go. I think I'm gonna go to college, and this is gonna be a little bit of upset. Not quite sure how it's gonna turn out, but I think I'm gonna take Memphis over Cincinnati. Big
I think that's
American
a bold
Conference.
one right there.
Yeah, not super sure about it, but the AAC's been pretty weird this year, so
yeah,
I think anything can happen in one of those games.
Definitely.
Well, I know where I'm going for my next pick, and I was hoping when I saw this that this was actually going to be a larger spread. So unfortunately, it's only worth 3 points rather than 5 points. But I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to beat the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Cincinnati, man, they're in almost every game.
Like, I know. That's the thing about Cincinnati, is that they are only like 1-4-1, but they're definitely they're kind of like the Chargers. They've almost won a bunch of close games. Like, they're a lot better than people think they are.
I concur. Eric's going to be your last pick here for the third round.
All right. Normally, I like to try to get a safe pick and guarantee that I at least for sure will get something, but I feel like I'm too far behind right now to do that. So I am going to do another college one, basically doing a pick'em game here, but I'm going to take Baylor over TCU.
Dang it. I was looking at that one for my last pick.
Dang, Eric sniped two
Not
tonight.
quite as
Well,
bad of a
that
snipe as that.
yeah, no, that
Yeah.
wasn't a
Still-
huge one, but I was definitely looking at that one.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. It's funny. Eric just went on a whole thing like, oh, I usually take a safe one, but now I'm not. I'm going to be the complete opposite. I usually don't take a safe one, but now I am, and I'm going to take the safest one I've seen all season in the NFL. I'm going to take Kansas City Chiefs to beat the New York Jets. Book
Are
it.
you crazy?
What kind of a pick was that, Zach?
Yeah, so you can already pencil in one for my score, basically.
That's like, geez, Zach, that pick is gonna earn you a spot on the Dopey Dragon if you get that wrong.
All right, Nate's gonna be your third pick here.
All right, so looking back over the thing real quick, see what was taken, and the one I want is not on there, so I'm gonna go with it and go back to the NFL, and I'm gonna take the upset and go Dallas over Philadelphia.
Ooh.
Kind of a bold
Interesting,
pick, but
considering that I think Andy Dalton's gonna miss that game too.
yeah,
So, I don't know.
wasn't totally sure about
Nate,
that
you
one.
wanna back out?
Actually, that might be a good
I'll let you back
idea.
out.
Yeah, I forgot that
I thought he
Dalton
was
had
gonna.
that serious of an
I thought
injury.
he was gonna pull a last year with the Dallas Oakland one where he stuck with his pick, but I guess not.
Yeah, I'm not that bold about the Cowboys. I don't think they got it that good. But
if Dallas wins now, man,
yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
All right, make your real pick now.
Yeah, my real pick. I think. And this one's probably not gonna be too much better, but I at least can kind of argue in support of it. But I'm gonna go 2 spots up and go. Oh, that's more than 2 spots. Sorry. I'm gonna go a couple spots up and go Miami over LA.
Okay.
I thought you were about to take Chicago over New Orleans there for a second. I was like, yeah, have you seen how badly Chicago's losing right now?
No, I've got that
Yeah.
other window, and it's not looking pretty.
Well,
Yeah.
I will say Zach actually made my last pick quite a bit easier because, like I said, normally Zach does take an upset pick, so I was looking at more upsets. But since Zach decided to go with a safe pick, and we are so close in the standings, I am going to reverse course and do a safe pick, which I think I'm taking the safest college pick here by taking Michigan to beat Michigan State, especially after the way that Michigan State lost to, of all teams, managed to lose to Rutgers. So if they end up beating Michigan, then that's going to be the shock of the college football year for me so far.
Yeah, and normally my rule is I don't put college games that are greater than 20-point spreads, but since this is a rivalry, I thought, it's probably going to be closer than the spread of 25.5, so I put that's why I included it. But yeah, it's my opinion that would be the safest college pick of the week from our board of games to pick from. But there you go, guys. See how this turns out, and we'll see if we have a new winner of the week, since that seems to rotate a lot.
Well, an interesting note here. I think this is the first time since the beginning that we've had no 5-point picks.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. None of the 5-pointers have been taken this week, so that's
there was only one NFL one.
Yeah,
it was a really bad one. So.
Yep. All right, yeah. So now we're done talking about football for this episode. We're gonna switch it over to basketball, go around the hoop. So I mentioned at the end of the last broadcast that Eric is gonna be rebuilding, retooling, managing his favorite team, the Oklahoma City Thunder. So. Eric, I'll give you a chance to do that now. And then afterwards, Connor and I are going to co-GM the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, so the Oklahoma City Thunder, in my opinion, are in probably one of the trickiest positions out of all the teams in the NBA, because most teams are either really bad, and so they're going to try to stockpile draft picks, or they need to make a lot of big moves or something like that, or they're contenders and they're already pretty solid and they're going to keep who they have and just keep going on like that, or maybe pick up a piece or something. But it's really tricky for the Thunder this offseason just because they were expected to be so bad last offseason, and they ended up defying the expectations and ended up making the playoffs and almost won that first round series against the Rockets. So they definitely overachieve for sure. And then what also makes it tricky for them is they've also got a lot of contracts that are up, and they've got to decide if they're going to keep certain players or trade certain players that they might not have initially been planning on keeping. So they definitely have a lot of work to do. And plus, as far as I know, they haven't hired a coach yet, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. As of
Yeah,
now.
as of right now, as of Monday night here, they have not hired a coach yet. So that obviously affects things going forward too, because they need to get a coach and then figure out what the coach wants to do and what kind of players the coach wants to have around him. So, but I am going into this as if I were the Thunder GM and what I would want to do. So going into last offseason, when we traded Russell Westbrook and got Chris Paul, and when we traded Paul George and got Gilgeous Alexander and Danilo Gallinari, I for sure wanted Gallinari and Chris Paul off the team as soon as possible. I was like, okay, we're just bringing these guys in because this is who we could get for trading away our all-stars. But now can we turn these guys around and maybe get some draft picks or get somebody younger or something like that? But Chris Paul and Gallinari both really impressed me last year. So Gallinari's contract is up, and as long as he's not commanding a ridiculous amount of money, I would love to bring him back. He is a little bit older, so I wouldn't want to sign him to a long-term deal or anything, but maybe like a 2-year deal for a solid price. He definitely deserves to stay on the team. I'm very impressed with his three-point shooting. He's a really good stretch four. Some of his offensive moves, I don't like his ball handling skills as much when he tries to drive or do things like that, but he's a great spot up shooter. He can stretch the floor for you. I would definitely love to have him back on the team. And as for Chris Paul, unless some team, his contract is not up and he is owed like $40 million or something like that. His salary is ridiculous. But he was a leader for this Thunder team last year. He showed a big difference. You could tell that the leadership wasn't really there when Russell Westbrook and Paul George were leading the show. I mean, obviously, if you look at playoff P's performance in the last playoffs, you can tell he's not a leader. And then Russell Westbrook, he has a lot of heart and he's a high energy guy, but I don't think he's a great leader. Chris Paul led this team, and that's why they were so much better last year than they were expected to be. So personally, unless a team offers me a king's ransom for Chris Paul, I want to keep him as well. Now, a player that I did not think that I would want to see go, but I have changed my mind over watching this last season, is Steven Adams. I feel like the Thunder need to trade him. They're paying him. I don't know if they can get much for him, though, because of his high salary. Let's see. I guess it's on the screen here.
25 million.
25 million annually. That is way too much money for a guy that pretty much all he does is rebound. I mean, he has no offensive game. His only offensive game is getting an offensive rebound and maybe getting a putback or getting like alley-oops or something like that. Other than that, his offensive game is so limited. He's slow. I feel like he gets exposed on defense a lot. He's good at guarding guys that try to maybe do post moves and stuff or something like that. But in today's NBA, that's just a type of offense you don't see very much anymore. His physical skill sets are not really designed for this current NBA. So I would love to trade him if possible. That would be one of my biggest priorities this offseason. Andre Robertson's contract is up. Goodbye. He was a big part of the Thunder's team as a defensive star for a long time, but he's had a lot of injuries. He's definitely nowhere near the same player that he once was. They were giving him $10 million a year, which was way too much. I don't want to see him on the team anymore. Muscala, he is a player option. I don't know how much his player option is for. I'm not sure if it says that on here. I'm not seeing it on the screen, but if it's a high amount of money, he's probably going to take that. But I mean, he's okay, but he's nothing special to write home about. Nerlens Noel, though, I remember Connor and I, when we were co-GMing for the Knicks last week, we talked about maybe the Knicks bringing him in as a transitional piece to be a center for a year or two for them. But as the Thunder's GM, like Gallinari, I would also want to keep him. I don't think he's going to command a high price. He's a great shot blocker. He's a little more agile and mobile than Steven Adams is. I mean, like Steven Adams, he doesn't have an offensive game. He's not going to scare anybody offensively, but we could keep him for a lot cheaper than it would be to keep paying Steven Adams to basically do the same thing. So I would love to keep Nerlens Noel. And as for the draft picks, for this year, our draft picks are both going to be pretty late in the first round. From my understanding, this draft class isn't super great. I don't know if maybe they could take the 2 picks and then move up to a higher spot and get somebody, or if they just stay there. Unfortunately, I don't watch enough college basketball to really know who's coming into the draft. So I can't fully decide what I would do with those draft picks. But basically, if I'm able to make all the moves that I would make, I would have I'd still have Chris Paul starting at the 1. I'd have Shea starting at the 2, and then probably have Dort start at the 3. I was really impressed with his defensive skill set on guarding James Harden last year in the playoffs. So he's somebody that, depending on what team that we're playing against, I wouldn't necessarily have him playing small forward, but depending on whoever the other team's best point guard, shooting guard, or small forward is, like, that's who he's guarding. And then I would keep Gallinari. We would have a hole at the center position for now, but maybe we could get somebody in free agency, or, with that Steven Adams trade, maybe there's somebody out there that we can get. It doesn't have to be anybody great, but just somebody that at least is a little bit more of an offensive threat than Steven Adams is. So normally, you obviously, like, Zach and Connor play Madden and 2K with me a lot. They know I tend to blow up the rosters and stuff. The Thunder already did that last year, and I actually like a lot of what they have right now. I think they're going to keep bringing in more, rookies. They have a ton of draft picks over the next few years, and maybe shed a couple of these high salaries, keep getting younger guys in there, and keep moving forward. So, guys, what did you think of my Oklahoma City Thunder offseason strategy?
Yeah, I'll let Connor go first with his thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's more so like, obviously, I think I agree with getting rid of Steven Adams. Like, I saw him do like absolutely nothing when I watched them in the bubble at all. So, yeah, like I said, the fact that you're paying him $25 million to do nothing, like, I don't know if anybody would be willing to trade for him next season, but at least for their sake, like, his contract is up after next season. So then you can just be like, okay, like, if we can't get a trade partner, then worst case scenario, he's gone after 2021, unless he's like willing to come back for a pay cut. Like, if he were willing to take a serious pay cut, then I would bring him back. So I think he's a good like leader and veteran presence on the team, but he'd have to take a serious pay cut. And then also, I don't remember what you said about Schroeder, but like, I don't like Schroeder's contract at all. Like, I know he's a good player and all, but I don't think he's worth $18 million. So I don't know if you said anything about.
No, I didn't. I didn't think to mention him. His is a little bit of a tricky thing because I definitely am in agreement with you that I don't love his contract either. But him and Shea and Chris Paul just have this unique chemistry where they play really well together. The Thunder oftentimes when they want to go to more of a small ball lineup, will have all three of them on the court at the same time, and they play really well together. Or even if they're not all three on the same or on three on the court at the same time, they rotate where like Chris and Shea will be in, and then like Chris will go out and Schroeder will come in, and then when Shea comes out, Chris Paul comes back in, and they rotate to keep each other fresh. So unless they're able to get another young guard that they feel like would be serviceable, I would be okay with keeping him for another year. But like I do agree with you though that his contract is not good. So if they could dump the contract, I would be okay with that. But I do still feel like the Thunder are a team that could win now, and they are capable of that. So I don't want to necessarily just give people away because I feel like they're being paid too much.
Right.
If I'm going to get rid of them, I'd have to like I guess what I'm saying is if I was going to get rid of them, I wouldn't want like future draft picks or something like that. Like I would want somebody that could help me win now. So if I could get that,
that's
yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was saying about how like, they're still around for like, worst case scenario, like, their contract is up after a year. So it's not like, those are long-term deals that are going to be hampering you for a long time. So but other than that, I mean, I agree, like, with the bringing Gallinari back as long as he takes a pay cut. And then, like I said, I think even if the Thunder wanted to get rid of Chris Paul, I don't think they would be able to. So, he's
obviously these are just rumors, but of course people like to spread rumors, and I'm already hearing tons of rumors about where Chris Paul is going to go, and he's probably not going to be in OKC and all this stuff. But I mean, like I said, unless the team was offering me the Kings rent, one of those teams, ironically enough, that I've heard him going to was the Lakers. I'm like, you just won a championship. Do you really need to trade for Chris Paul? I don't even think the Lakers have anybody that they could give up that the Thunder, because obviously they're not getting rid of LeBron or AD. I mean, who else do they have? Or the Thunder would be like, yeah, we'll give up our leader and our best player for that.
For Danny Green.
Yeah, Danny Green, baby, 3-pointer. So yeah,
I'll let Zach talk.
Okay. See, yeah, this is interesting. All the stuff Eric said. Now, I am a Trailblazers fan, so some might say I'm trying to sabotage here, but I would do things a little bit. I would do things a little bit differently. There's a lot of decisions I would do differently, and the Chris Paul one, I would look to trade him just because I think right now you can get the most possible value in a trade with him. I think hit with his age and everything, age and contract, like there would never be a better time to trade him than now. Like if they traded him before he played for them last year, they would have got nothing. But now I think they can actually get something, and I think it'd be better for them to trade him a year early than a year late, and really let Shea and Dennis hold down the point. Steven Adams, Eric, this isn't Madden. Nobody's going to trade for him, in my opinion. As much as it would be good for them to trade him, I don't think that's going to happen. But if it was just you, I would, definitely try and trade him at all cost. And then Gallinari, also with his age, is another one I probably wouldn't want to bring back because he played good this year. So the chances of him taking a pay cut, I think, are pretty low. There's going to be other teams, I think, that are going to pay him a lot of money. And I don't think the Thunder need to get in a bidding war with him with his age. So Gallinari is one where I probably wouldn't end up bringing back. You'd want to, but with the age and the play like he had with Chris Paul, I think it's going to be a little bit too costly for him. And then with all the first-round picks, so there's a screenshot here of like 10 or 12 for the next 5 years. That's too many, in my opinion. They're going to have to do some trading in some years, either trading up, packing picks up to move up in the draft, or using those picks to trade for players, because that's just way too many picks to have for the first round. I mean, I know you can say like, oh, you never can have too many first round picks, but I mean, you won't even be able to have all these people on your team in 2025 if they all are good. So I don't know. It's just, to me, these picks are nice to have, definitely, but they need to be trading up in the first round or using them to trade for players. I think there's only so many draft picks you can have. You need to start actually getting some good players on your team.
I definitely don't disagree with that part. I guess the reason why I didn't mention it because it's too hard to be able to say really what specifically and
yeah.
with them. But yeah, I definitely don't disagree with you with that. And I do agree too about Gallinari. I mean, if some team comes out and offers him like $30 million, like, okay, you can go to that team. Like,
goodbye.
Yeah, like you're a great player, but goodbye. Like, you know, like,
you have to leave now.
That's a thing. That's why, like I said, I kind of preface this in the beginning because it's so hard to say with this team because depending on what they could do, they could still have a chance to win this year. Like, do you go for the win? Do you go for the win?
It's the
now?
West, though, man. Like,
yeah, they are. Yeah, especially with the Warriors coming back too, with Steph and Clay coming back. I mean, that's going to make it even more difficult than it already was. And if the Lakers bring in another piece or something, then so yeah. I mean, I'm our GM though. I will say Sam Presti, I believe his name is. Like, he's done an amazing job acquiring talent and getting value for trades and even signing, like when Paul George signed his massive contract extension, like he even did a slightly team-friendly deal in there. And so he's very good. So whatever he does, unless he just outs the whole team, like if he trades like Shea for nothing or something, then I'm going to panic. But but I trust what he does, like whether he wants to rebuild for the future and get rid of the veterans, or if he wants to try to win now and make a push. Like, I'm going to trust whatever he does. But
all right,
they're a hard spot. But yeah, I'll let you guys take over for the Spurs now.
So going down south here a little bit to San Antonio near Eric's homeland right now.
Homeland of Victoria, Texas. Shout out Victoria.
This is an interesting team that Connor and I have to rebuild. I'll kind of just run through who they've got and the decisions that need to be made. Then Connor and I will team up and do these decisions. But DeMar DeRozan has a player option. He probably will take it, and then he will be having an expiring contract. And then they've got DeJounte Murray, young point guard, locked up long term. LaMarcus Aldridge has one more year left. Patty Mills has one more year left. He's getting up there in age. Rudy Gay also has 1 year left. Trey Lyles, 1 year left. Derek White, 1 year left. And Lonnie Walker, 2 years. So those are the main points on the Spurs. Joachim Poeltl's a restricted free agent. I think they probably end up bringing Poeltl back just for center. I think he's their starting center, actually. So Poeltl's been good. Poeltl's been pretty good for him, so I think they bring him back. The rest of the unrestricted free agents, I don't think there's any need to bring any of them back.
No, they can all go.
Yeah. So by the way, those names are Marco Bellinelli, Bryn Forbes, and Tyler Zeller.
Yes, so they can go.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the biggest thing that's hampering the Spurs right now is age. Like, they just have such an old team. I mean, like, if you look at their starting lineup even, I mean, I know, like, obviously DeJounte Murray is young, Poeltl's young, but then you got, 34-year-old Rudy Gay playing small forward, and you got Aldridge is 35 as their 4, and then their 2 is DeRozan. Like, he's still good, but he's like 31. So it's like, this is definitely a very, very old team that is not getting any younger, unfortunately.
Oh, certainly. And that's the thing, is that I think the Spurs are going to have to go in a full-on rebuild, and I don't think that's a bad thing for them, because Eric was talking about the GM of the Thunder. The GM of the Spurs has also been really good drafting players. He's been consistent along with Pop for this team. So I trust the Spurs with their draft picks. They always seem to get second-round guys that end up being really good. But like you said, the biggest problem is age. And so we'll start with the biggest question, like DeMar DeRozan probably accepts the player option. Let's assume he does the player option and plays this year out.
Yeah, I would think he would.
Yeah. I don't think they want to bring him back, right? Like,
no, I mean, I would say, like, honestly, I agree with the whole full-on rebuild. Like, I would say DeRozan, Aldridge, Mills, and Gay, I say they're all gone, like, after next season.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, unless one of them, I mean, like, unless they are willing to take a massive pay cut, but it would have to be a massive pay
and
cut.
Aldridge is the only one still producing out of those guys. Like,
right. So that's why it's just like, I think they all go. Because, like, Aldridge, I mean, like, he might still produce somewhere else, but, like, he's going to be 37 years old by the time 2022 comes around. And it's like, you're just not, I mean, in order to quote some of the announcers and how Eric gets mad at them all the time. Not everyone can be like LeBron James and they're, when they're 38 years old or whatever. Like,
yeah.
season 17.
I know this isn't going to be the flashy thing either, but I don't think they really need to go out in free agency and do a whole lot, just because that's not been their history. They brought in Aldridge, but their history is drafting and developing, and they have a lot of guys like Derek White, Lonnie Walker's 21, Pirtle's 24. They got in that Toronto trade. Murray's 24. Like, they have some 25 and under guys that I think need to start getting more minutes and really start to be the focal point of this team moving forward. And then whatever they end up drafting and adding on, do you agree with me, or do you think?
Yeah, and it's definitely like a combination of the fact that, like, another reason why I don't think they should go on free agency is because, like, in their heads, they have to know that, like, they're not gonna. I mean, obviously you want to compete and everything, but they have to know that they're not going to be competing for an NBA championship. I mean, they didn't even make the playoffs this year, so it's one of those things that. And also the free agent class is pretty terrible this season, so it's like you don't want to shell out any money for someone because, like, no one you get, in my opinion, is really gonna be that piece that turns you around. So I agree with, like, getting all the draft picks. And I think an important thing for the Spurs, honestly, is, I mean, I know Greg Popovich has, he's one of those coaches, like, he's earned the right to, stay with the team until he retires, but honestly, like, I think him retiring would be good for the team. Like, I think it's time for them to have a fresh face in there to bring up the younger guys and, just there's been talk that he's going to pass it on to Tim Duncan. Like, just have a new coach in there, a new face for the team. Because Pop has been there for so long now that it's just like, it would fit with the theme, right? The theme of a rebuild. I don't know if Pop has a rebuild in him, honestly.
No, Pop is. I mean, this is like the witch Belichick thing. Like, this is a lot of similarities here. I really think, and it seems like Pop has one foot out the door. Like, it hit. Like, I think I remember hearing something where he said he promised Duncan that he would retire with Duncan, and then he didn't. So I don't think there's going to be. I don't think Pop's going to last probably maybe this season, and then that'll be it for him. But the age gap is just so big now with him and these young players. Like, that's a real thing in the NBA, especially. You have to have good relationship with your players, and people respect Pop for what he's done, but it's kind of hard when you have such an old man coaching a team that's needing to get younger. And so that brings the real question is, who's going to replace Pop? Is it going to be somebody outside the organization? Is it going to be Tim Duncan, who was an assistant this year? Or is it going to be Becky Hammond, who is pictured here in this picture with Pop and Tim Duncan in the middle there? She's been with the Spurs a long time and been like their go-to coach if Pop got like ejected or had a health problem where he couldn't coach. Like, she's coached in NBA games before, I believe, as the head coach. So obviously this would be like history if she became the first female head coach here, but to me it seems like Pop wants Duncan to be the head coach, but I don't think Duncan's going to make a head coach because, honestly, I don't even know what his voice sounds like. He's that quiet of a guy, and you need a coach to be a vocal leader. And sometimes, too, the better players don't make as good of a head coaches. I feel like that's going to be the case with Duncan. I feel like Duncan's style of leadership is not built to be a head coach. I think it's built really more to be an assistant coach, kind of out of the limelight. Like he was never a focal point of the league. He was always one of the best players, but it was always Kobe, LeBron, Shaq. Those are the big names you see on TV, but you never really saw Duncan. And so I think he's more fit to be an assistant coach. And I think Becky Hammond, actually, I would want to see her be the head coach. She's had so many years being under Pop. It just seems like the natural thing to do to be his successor. And I don't think they need to go outside the organization because they have so many assistant coaches that end up being successful head coaches outside of San Antonio. A lot of great coaches have left San Antonio and done great things for other teams. So I think they hire within, and if I were them, I'd hire Becky to be a head coach. But what do you think, Connor, about Tim as possibly
Yeah,
being a head
yeah,
coach?
yeah. I mean, I definitely agree that, like, I've seen what you've seen. I remember, I used to, when I was watching Kobe play, I used to watch Spurs games, and like, because they were on TV, and it's just like, I know, yeah, he was never that vocal on court leader. Like, he was never gonna be like a Chris Paul or a
Yeah.
or like a Kobe Bryant or a LeBron James or
Yep.
someone like that. Like, he was never the vocal on court leader. He was always like, he was the Spurs' best player for a
Yeah.
long time, like you said. But I mean, I feel like the leadership kind of fell to. I mean, really, honestly, I think it was Pop.
Yeah.
Because Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili weren't very vocal leaders either. So it was definitely Pop that was leading the team, and definitely seeing like someone who's been under him for so long. I mean, honestly, I feel like too that they almost, in a sense, like, I think it's the right move to hire Becky Hammon, but I almost feel like in a way that there's pressure on them probably to hire Becky Hammon, because
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be a situation where if they don't, then there's going to be a lot of outcry about them being like, well, the only reason why they're not hiring her is because she's a woman. Because like, she deserves the job. She has proven herself. Like you said, she's like their backup coach whenever Pop wasn't there. So it's not like she, has only been on the staff for a year and doesn't have any experience. So I think it would be the right move for her. And she knows all these players too. She's been around the organization a lot longer. I mean, Tim Duncan, he's obviously maintained a close friendship with Greg Popovich, but he hasn't been around these players and, seen their development like Becky Hammon has. Like, she's seen DeJounte Murray develop. She's seen, what's been going on with Derek White.
Well, he was a
Trey Lyles.
teammate of some of these guys, but
right. But it's like, he hasn't been like, in the organization as like as a management or a coaching role as long as she has. So, yeah, and I see no reason to go outside the organization, because I mean, why? I mean, who are you going to get? You going to hire Mike D'Antoni? Like, I'm sure that'll go great.
God, Spurs fans would hate that. I know.
I think anybody outside of Rockets fans, and even them, like, would hate that.
I still don't mind keeping Tim Duncan as like an assistant coach, because I think
for sure.
For just like man to man, like his knowledge of the game would be good to
have. He can relate to them on a level of like, I've been there. Like, I've been in this situation in the game, especially for like, some of the big men, like, if they're like Podol and Trey Lyles, he can really relate to them. Like, hey, I've been in this position in the game. Like, this is like what you would want to do here, and they can help him out that way.
Yeah, it's going to be, and I think this is not really about the Spurs rebuild, but we never really talked about the Spurs in the podcast, so Spurs fans will enjoy this. But I mean, Popovich is really the reason that drove Kawhi out, just because his style of coaching doesn't work. Kawhi is like the prime example for why Pop is not going to be good for them long term, is because just the way he treats superstars. You need to have a Tim Duncan to like just follow everything the coach says, and Kawhi didn't, and then they didn't get along, and that's the superstars of today. You can't make them matter.
Oh yeah. So you're right. With like Kawhi Leonard and James Harden and LeBron and all these guys, it's like, like you have to be with them. You have to meet them halfway, because if you don't, then it's you're headed for disaster. Like and that's the thing, they can easily find another team to go to. It's not like, because I feel like that's kind of the difference between the NBA and the NFL. Like, in the NFL, it's not as easy if you start getting into disagreements with the coach to go and find another team. And I think also in the NFL it's different, because like the head coach is really important, and like one player doesn't have as much influence in the NFL as they do in the NBA, whereas like one player can make all the difference sometimes in the NBA. So if you're pissing off your superstar, then like you're headed for disaster.
Okay, so we'll wrap that part of the rebuild up now. So Eric, I know we didn't do too much work with this team here, but what did you think of the coaching decision we went with, and the player development, and what the direction they're going to go in?
Yeah, no, I think the coaching decision would be great. I mean, I wasn't too familiar with her before you guys started talking about her, but hearing everything you said, it sounds very impressive to me. And with her already having that familiarity with all of the players, I think the players would respect it. Because I know, obviously, the first concern that at least the media would throw out there and spin, and what all the casuals would say is, oh, well, why would you want to have a woman coach? But if they're knowledgeable and they have leadership qualities and everything like that, then I think it would be great. And I kind of like what Zach said too about Pop. I mean, his days are numbered, unfortunately. I mean, he's been an amazing coach, but if he can't relate to the players super well, then that could hurt them going forward. It could maybe hurt their ability to get a superstar in the future or something like that. But the Spurs are a team that I've always respected, though, because I've always respected how they've been able to, for the most part, draft talent, develop that talent, and then turn that team into a winner. They're not a team that relies on big splashes in free agency or making huge trades or something like that.
Kind of reminds me of a team in the NFL that with Witch as their head coach.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of similarities between the Spurs and Patriots for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And so I mean, I'm definitely in agreement with you guys here. I mean, the older guys, they're definitely going to need to go when their contracts are up, or even if they can trade them beforehand, and at least maybe get a draft pick, or even no matter what it is, get something in return. That would be good. And even DeMar DeRozan, like if he picks, assuming he picks up that player option, I would try to trade him too, honestly. Because the Spurs didn't really want him, I don't think. It was just more so Kawhi Leonard wanted out, so they just had to take the best thing they could get. And he was the best thing they could get. I don't really think they really wanted him. So if they can get something for him, I think they need to just admit, though, like I said the Bengals should have done last year, which they didn't do. Just face it now that you're gonna suck. And do what I do in Madden, and just when your team isn't good, and just accumulate as many draft picks as possible, so that way you can get
and then make some ridiculous trade for an all-star player that would never happen in real life.
Yeah, obviously they're not going to go to do like what I do in 2K or in Madden or whatever, because that stuff is very unrealistic. I will admit, but if they face the truth and realize, okay, we're not going to be good. Let's get as many draft picks. Let's get as many young guys as we can get. They can become good sooner rather than later. So, and I mean, even if you look at the Thunder, everybody thought they were going to be so bad when they blew it up last year, and they've accumulated so many draft picks and got players and all that, and they ended up still making the playoffs. So they ended up still being good, surprisingly.
Yeah.
So you never know what could happen. But you're not going to get anywhere with, Rudy Gay and Patty Mills, and you're just not. DeMar DeRozan has, I mean, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but we always rib on Kyle Lowry all the time for going missing in the playoffs. So DeMar DeRozan's just as bad, if not worse. Especially when they were both on the same team, it was like they both disappeared.
Yeah.
So you're not going to win with DeMar DeRozan. Like, make the trades, blow it up, and and then with as good as this team is at developing talent, give them 2 or 3 years, and they'll be back in the playoffs and dominate them like they used to. So there we go.
Yep. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap this episode up. Hopefully, you enjoyed all the Halloween aspects to it. I think this episode of Clutch Crew Sports and like Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are like the two best things of Halloween. So
yeah,
I might disagree with you on one of those, but
it better not be Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
That's for another day.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah. So yeah. Thanks to everybody for listening and watching, and remember, be clutch.
Bye.
Peace.